Stop pouring fertilizer on the surface and expecting massive harvests. That mistake alone keeps a lot of gardens permanently stuck in okay production. Leaves get greener for a few weeks, plants grow taller, but the harvest never really explodes the way it should. The real bottleneck is almost always underground. When the root system is weak, shallow, or biologically inactive, the plant simply cannot move enough water and nutrients to produce heavy yields. You can feed the top of the plant all you want, but if the root engine isn't firing, the garden never reaches its potential. So, what actually happens in the soil within the first 48 hours? Well, within the first day after watering in molasses, bacteria populations begin multiplying rapidly. They consume the sugars and convert them into organic acids, enzymes, and growth compounds that interact with plant roots. One of the biggest changes you'll notice is root hair formation. Root hairs are these microscopic extensions that dramatically increase surface area. Just a single centimeter of root can produce thousands of these tiny structures, allowing the plant to absorb way more water and nutrients. As microbial populations grow, they also begin producing sticky substances known as glomalin and biofilms. These compounds bind soil particles together, creating better soil structure. Better structure means better oxygen flow. Better oxygen means stronger roots. This is honestly why gardeners often notice soil becoming darker, looser, and easier to dig just days after applying microbial feeds. And the plant responds quickly. Leaves usually become more vibrant, growth tips push faster, and flowering plants start setting heavier fruit because the root system suddenly has the capacity to support it. So where does this trick work best in real gardens? Well, it really shines in tired soil, newly built raised beds, and container gardens. Fresh raised beds often contain compost and bagged soil mixes that look rich, but are actually biologically immature. Microbial populations haven't stabilized yet. A molasses watering acts like a starter fuel, helping beneficial bacteria multiply quickly and establish a functioning soil ecosystem. Container gardens, honestly, benefit even more. Containers dry out faster and have limited microbial diversity compared to ground soil. Feeding microbes periodically keeps the root zone biologically active instead of sterile. Even in hydroponic systems where everything is supposed to be controlled, small microbial populations can improve root health. Hydro growers sometimes notice roots becoming thicker and whiter after adding tiny carbohydrate feeds because beneficial microbes start colonizing the rhizosphere. But this is also where balance really matters. Too much sugar can cause the wrong microbes to dominate. More molasses is definitely not better. One of the biggest mistakes gardeners make after discovering this trick is using way too much. When excessive sugar enters the soil, fast-growing bacteria explode in population and begin consuming oxygen quickly. That can temporarily suffocate roots and cause sour-smelling soil. The correct approach here is definitely moderation. 1 tablespoon per gallon is plenty, and most gardens only need this treatment every 3 to 4 weeks during active growth. In very rich soil that already contains lots of compost, even less may be necessary. Sometimes half a tablespoon per gallon works perfectly. Think of molasses as a microbial snack, not a full meal. Used sparingly, it fuels the biology without overwhelming the system. Why do stronger roots directly translate to bigger harvests? Well, plants don't produce large harvests simply because nutrients are present. They produce large harvests when the root system can access and transport those nutrients efficiently. A plant with shallow roots might access only the top 2 or 3 inches of soil. That zone dries out quickly and holds limited nutrients. But when roots branch deeply and widely, the plant suddenly has access to gallons of water and a massive nutrient reservoir. That's when yields really explode. Tomatoes set more fruit clusters. Peppers produce thicker walls and heavier fruit. Leafy greens regrow faster after harvest. The difference isn't just visible above ground. If you ever pull up a plant after regularly feeding soil microbes, the root ball tells the whole story. Instead of a few thick strands, you'll see dense white roots filling every inch of soil. That's the foundation of serious productivity. Now, combining this with one other simple practice multiplies the effect. While molasses feeds microbes, those microbes still need organic matter to live in long term. This is why pairing the treatment with mulch or compost works incredibly well. A thin 1-inch layer of compost over the soil surface acts like a microbial habitat. The molasses feeds the bacteria, and the compost provides long-term structure and nutrients. Together, they create a living root zone that keeps producing growth hormones for weeks. In my own beds, the biggest difference appears when molasses watering is followed by a light compost top dressing. Within a week, the soil becomes noticeably softer and earthworms start appearing more frequently. That's a sign the underground ecosystem is functioning properly. And once that ecosystem stabilizes, plants become far more resilient to heat, drought, and disease. Roots become the engine that drives everything else in the garden. This is the kind of simple knowledge that completely changes how you grow. A lot of gardening advice focuses on feeding plants directly. Bottled fertilizers, complicated nutrient schedules, endless supplements. But the real breakthrough comes when you start feeding the soil life instead. When the microbes thrive, roots expand. When roots expand, the plant can finally perform the way it was designed to. And sometimes the trigger for that entire chain reaction is something as simple as a tablespoon of molasses in a gallon of water. If you found this useful and want more real-world gardening techniques that actually improve harvests, subscribe to Gardening Simplified. This channel is all about practical methods that experienced growers use to build healthier soil, stronger plants, and bigger yields without unnecessary complexity. And if you know another gardener who's struggling with slow growth or weak roots, share this video with them. Once you understand how powerful the underground biology really is, you start growing food in a completely different way.